Um, I am on book 1, about 100. Here we have a comment, very interesting one. Talent and handicraft and a clever mind, so cunning, history cannot show the like among the ladies of Achaia. Right? In all history. History can't show the like of her. Therefore, it's been urged that she get married, remarried, to a man her father names, and she prefers because Odysseus is away and hasn't returned in many years. And so that's the struggle in the book. Now, what is the struggle? How can we get in and take a look at the whole story in a nice summary form? Well, luckily enough, I happen to have a summary of it. On page 24. And I have copies of that for each of you, if you'd like a copy. Good, good. Pass them around. Thank you. Odysseus, as you know, as everyone knows the great story, I believe, he returns from his travels, his exile, after the great battle in Troy, which he played a major part. Tries to get home. He's blocked in many ways because of Poseidon wants to block him, because Poseidon's son, the Cyclops, he killed, put the eye out, at least, pardon me, didn't kill, but the only eye out. And Poseidon is very upset and blocks him from returning to home, which we'd like to return to later. In the end, therefore, Odysseus must return home, and all the suitors in the house, and they've been taking advantage of everything in the house. Therefore, he plots their ruin, and in the end, he slays them all. And I count some 108 suitors he kills in the end of the story, which is quite a nice number. How can we get a summary? In Book 24, the warriors that were slain rush on into Hades. And it's here we get again, Aegisthus again is mentioned. He's mentioned through the entire story, 6 prominent places. And so Agamemnon, who's there, wants to know why all of these people are coming into Hades at once, who he knows. And so we get a spokesman who then reviews the whole story. And the story is told by I believe it's Atreus. Let me make sure. Yeah. So what I'd like to do is take you through it, and that way we can get 2 things. Agamemnon recognized Amphitryon and called out to him. I'm at approximately line 100. He says, "What ruin brought you down here into the undergloom? What happened?" He says, oh, glory of commanders, Agamemnon, all that you bring to mind I remember well. As for the sudden manner of our death, I'll tell you of it clearly, first to last. After Odysseus had been gone for years, we were all suitors of his queen. She never quite refused, nor went through with the marriage, hating it, even bent on our defeat. Here's one of her tricks. She placed her loom, her great big loom, out for weaving in the hall, and the fine warp and some vast fabric on it. We were attending her, and she said to us, young men, my suitors, now my lord is dead. Let me finish my weaving before I marry, or else my thread will have been spun in vain. This is a shroud I weave for Lord Laertius, when cold death comes to him on his pyre. The country wives would hold me in dishonor if he, with all his fortune, lain unshrouded. We had men's hearts. She touched them. We agreed. So every day she wove on the great loom, that every night by torchlight she unwove it. And so for 3 years she deceived the Achaeans. But when the seasons brought the fourth around, as long months waned and the slow days were spent, one of her maids, who knew the secret, told us, we found her unraveling the splendid shroud. And then she had to finish, willy-nilly finish, and show the great loom woven tight from beam to beam with cloths. She washed the shroud, clean as sun or moonlight. Then heaven knows from what quarter of the world fatality brought in Odysseus to the swineherd's wood far up on the island. There his son went too when the black ship put him ashore from Pylos. Then the two planned our death trap. Down they came to the famous town, Telemachus, his son. Long in advance, we had to wait for Odysseus. The swineherd led him to the manor. Later, in rags like a foul beggar, old, broken, propped up on a stick, these tatters that he wore hid him so well that none of us could know him when he turned up, not even the older men. We jeered at him, took pot shots at him, cursed him. Daylight and evening in one great hall he bore it, patient as a stone. That night the mind of Zeus beyond the storm cloud stirred him with Telemachus in hand to shift his arms from Megaron to storage room, lock it. Then he assigned his wife her part. Next day she brought his bow and iron axe heads out to make a contest. Contest there was none. That move doomed us to slaughter. That move doomed us to slaughter. Not a man could bend the stiff bow of his. Nope. Or string it until it reached Odysseus. We shouted, keep the royal bow from the beggar's hands, no matter how he begs. Only Telemachus would not be denied. So the great soldier took his bow and bent it for the bowstring, effortless. He drilled the ox heads clean, sprang and decanted arrows on the door still, glared, drew again. This time he killed Antinous. Then facing us he crouched and shot his bolts. Groaning at us, brought us down like sheep. Then some god, his familiar, went into action with him around the hall after us in a massacre. Men lay groaning, mortally wounded, and the floor smoked with blood. That was the way our death came, Agamemnon. Now in Odysseus' hall, untended still, our bodies lie, unknown to friends or kinsmen, who should have laid us out and washed our wounds free of the clotted blood and mourned our passing. So much is due the dead. Well, that's the review. So that's a beautiful summary of the whole story, right in the end. So look here. Hey, that's the review. Now, this account of Amphitryon is not accurate in the most important detail, and that's why I wanted to read it, so we can get into the story, Penelope's role in this great drama. And Penelope's role was something interesting. 3 things happen at once. She has a dream, Odysseus explores it, interprets it, and immediately she then thinks about it would be interesting to remarry and hold a contest